slope. What does slope tell us? What's the letter for slope? M. Good, so slope is M. And it's measuring the distance from point to point. So today we're going to take time to visualize what the graph would actually look like based on our number that we have for our slope, the fraction it gives us. Okay, and to visualize that line, there's going to be two things we're going to visualize. What's one of the things we'll visualize? We'll see. Direction. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, something's broken in it. I'll just use that one for today. Keep that one too. But for some reason it's not working. I gotta fix it.
I guess I'll use the other one.
That one doesn't work. That will just eat it. Good luck. Okay, and then what's the other thing that it will tell us? Steepness. So how fast does it drop? How fast is it going up? That's steepness. That's what we did yesterday. M is equal to what? What over what? You rise over run. And rise measures which distance? Which direction? Up and down. Good. And run measures left and right. So that's based on a graph. But if I'm given 2 points, and usually when we do this with 2 points, it's either that we don't have graph paper around, or it's a multi-step problem that when we graph it, then it's going to just take an extra step. So we want to be able to do it without having to use that graph piece. So at 2 points, we're going to start with our ordered pairs. In our ordered pairs, which number comes first? X. So it always goes X, Y, and then our second ordered pair, it will go X, Y. At this point, if you still have your phone out, I need you to tuck that away. Focus on your notes. All right, then we're going to be using some subscripts. So for subscripts, those are smaller numbers. So here we're going to put a 1 next to that X. It's a little bit more to that diagonal lower left, right corner, lower right, and Y1. And those just signify that those come from the first point. So from the second point, we're going to use which number? 2. Well, X2, Y2. Now, I as a math teacher, I say X1, Y1, X2, Y2. But you might have some teachers who use that word sub for subscript. So they might say X sub 1, Y sub 1. It's the same thing. Okay, but here our M is equal to, and we're going to have a fraction still. Okay, when we did the graph, we did rise first, and rise was our up and down. Which number is the up and down on a graph, the X's or the Y's? The Y's. And to find that distance, remember when we did that with the height, or we did it with those blocks in the practice, in the warm-up? We usually start at our ending point and subtract our beginning. So which one would be our ending, the first or the second? Usually it's a second, like we name it second. That's our ending point. I don't know, that was a bad question. Ignore that question. So we're going to do Y2 minus Y1. 'Cause the Y's go up and down. It's still our rise. For our run, to go left and right, which numbers go left and right? X's. So we're going to do X2 minus X1. All right, this is where I'm going to use my colors. I'm going to use green every time for my X1 and Y1. And I'm going to use blue every time for X. So a big thing is when we set this up, we X2 to be on top of each other. We want these to come from the same point. And then we want these to come from the same point. Otherwise, we are just mix matching point and then an ending point. You don't sneak when you do this at the table. Okay. All right. So we're going to do 3 examples. All these examples are going to have the same directions, which says find the slope between the points. Now your slope formula here, this m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, that's not something I require you to memorize. It is going to help you if you memorize it. It's going to make things a little bit quicker for you, especially once we get to B4 and B5 and B6 and B7. The rest of the chapter. The rest of the chapter we're going to be using that formula mostly. Just kidding. Maybe not B4. I can't remember. But B5, B6, and B7 will for sure be using this, and it's going to make things go a little bit quicker if you have that memorized. If you don't have it memorized, that's fine. It's just going to take you an extra second to write it down. All right, so for number 1, we're going to find the slope between -4, -15, and -13, 2. Talking really fast. I slow down. Could we graph this and find our rise and run? Yeah, it's not terrible. But graphing all the way out to -15 or graphing all the way to -13, that still requires a pretty big graph. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is label my points. I'm going to start with, I always label my x, y, x, and y. And then I want my 1s to go with the first point and my 2s to go with the second point. So here's my first point, so I get x1 and y1. And then my second point, x2, y2. Okay, so my 1s today I'm going to do green, my 2s I'm going to do blue. If you pick different colors, that's fine, but try and keep them consistent. So whatever you used up here, try and use the same colors here. That'll help a little bit. Alright, m equals, and we have that nice fraction line there. I'm going to make it bigger. And we are going to just write out that formula again. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Color coordinating might be helpful so you can match. At this point, it's a formula, and formulas in math mean that we're just going to put in the numbers and get an answer out. It tells us we need to figure out what are these numbers and then just do the problem. Okay, so which one is my y2 out of those 4 numbers we started with?
2.
Good, 2 is my y2. So I'm going to start with 2 minus, what is my y1? -15. Now if you write -15 like this, that's fine, but you have to make sure that that minus and that negative looks separate. If yours looks separated, you can always put that negative in parentheses. So that way you know that this is a minus sign and that's a negative sign. Just to know that they're separated. Okay, over, what is my x2? So my x from the second point. -13 minus my x from the first point, -4. So we plugged in those numbers. Daisy's off your phone. At this point, we just need to find our answers. So according to our order of operations, what are we going to do first?
Minus.
Parentheses. Is there anything in the parentheses? No, they're just there to show us that's a negative. So what are we going to do first, the subtracting or the dividing?
Subtracting.
Why here do we do subtracting before we do dividing?
circle equations on both top and bottom.
Yeah, remember that long division sign technically counts as a grouping symbol. So 2 minus negative 15.
Which would be a plus 215.
Yep, so 2 plus 15, we end up with 17. And then negative 13 minus a negative 4. So if I have 13 negatives and I take away 4 negatives, negative 9. Now, we want to be able to simplify this if we can. So I'm going to just double check it. 17 divided by negative 9. And I'm going to hit that fraction sign here with the circle and 2 dots. And it leaves it as it is. But there's something still not quite right that we don't like about our answer. Does anyone know what's not quite right here? The negative's on the bottom. And do we ever say 17 negative ninths? No. So that negative rises to the top. It's like a helium balloon. Okay, so it goes with the 17. So it's going to be negative 17 over, and then is it going to be a positive or a negative 9? Positive 9. So it just flips which one is negative, and that's going to be our final answer. So if we visualize this, is our line going to be going puff, puff, positive, nice, negative, 0, fun, or undefined? It's a negative number, so it's going to be going downhill. Okay. I want to go down 17. I'm just going to imagine that's 17. I just came up with a certain amount. When I go over 9, is it going to go over just as much? Is it going to go over more? Or is it going to go over less? Less. It's not quite that distance. It's 9. So this should be a pretty steep downhill. I'm not an experienced skier, so if I was slope dude, I would be falling down this hill, but it's still a hill. So it's still negative, but it's pretty steep. I would maybe tube down that hill. I would not ski down that hill. I'm not good enough skier for that. All right, we have 2 more problems. Number 2. Number 2, we have the ordered pair 7, 3. And 14, 7. Tyler, put your phone away. You can do this. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is label them. Oh, whose computer did you take? Smiles. Okay. I'll get back to her. I don't know where your computer is.
Who's sitting over there? Maybe she took mine. You know what
I can check 1 second. Alright, if you want to work ahead. Alright, first off I'm going to label. So it goes X, Y, X, Y. Okay, the 7 is going to be my X, Y. X1, and then it goes Y, 1. 1's go together. And then this will be X2, Y, 2. Alright, we're going to write out that formula one more time here. So M equals Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So we're starting off with that second point. So I'm going to color those blue. So I want to start with my blue point and then subtract off my green point. But we want to do our rise first. And is our rise the X's or the Y's? The Y's. So what is my Y2? 7's my X1. What's my Y2? Oh, it's also, no, Y2. It's 7. I was just trying to trick you. Sorry. There's 2 7s. That's okay. Minus, what is Y1? The Y for my first point is 3. x2, what is the second x? 14 minus our first x, 7. This one you might not need a calculator for. What is 7 minus 3? 4. 14 minus 7? 7. Can we simplify that one? No. If you're not sure, can you put it in your calculator? Yeah. Don't put in 4 over 7. Look, yep, stays the same. So 4/7 is our answer. So is this going to be puff puff positive, nice negative, 0 fun, or undefined? Positive. So if I think about my point, I'm going to be going up this time to the right. It's going to go up 4. When it goes over, is it going to go a greater distance, a smaller distance, or the same? Greater. So because it goes a greater distance, is this steep or not very steep? Because it goes up only 4 and then it goes a longer distance away, it becomes not quite as steep. It flattens out a little bit more. So this is one that if I was hiking, I could hike up that hill maybe pretty good. I would need to take a couple breaks, but it's not that bad. Alright, last one for today. Number 3. This one I want you to follow along even if you feel like you know what you're doing. We're going to just switch it up a little bit. So follow along with number 3 here. Alright, we have 13/6. And 13/9. Okay, so follow along on this one because we're going to switch it up just a little bit. We're still going to keep it x, y, x, y. That can never change. Our x is always first, our y is always second. But is there a reason I wrote 13/6 down first? Because I wanted to. Could I have written this one first? Yeah, so let's make this one x1, y1. Oh, no, that's why I told you to follow along. So we're going to make this one x2, y2. Should that change our answer? Nope. Shouldn't change our answer, so if you are like really like I did it already, that's fine. Won't change your answer. You were just sitting back there, weren't you? Is that your computer, Lena? That's yours. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll keep an eye out for it.
No, okay.
Sorry. I'm sure somebody else just put it in their bag and they'll find it soon. Alright. Oh, is there that one? Thanks. It was at your actual seat. Appreciate it. Thanks for run down. Very awesome. Alright. X1, Y1 is this one. Sorry about that delay. Alright, so when I do M equals, I'm going to start with my Y2. And in this case, what did we label our Y2? 6 minus my Y1, 9, over X2, 13 minus x1, 13. Okay, if you want to color code that, you can. Alright, what is 6 minus 9? Negative 3. And what's 13 minus 13? 0. How do you know?
Because there's a 0.
Okay, so just because there's a 0, it's undefined?
Just kidding. You can simplify it and be negative 13, 8, or negative, and then it'll be negative.
You had it right the first time.
Oh, no, do that to me then.
Negative 3 divided by 0. Can we divide by 0? No, it's undefined. Remember, if you put it in your iPhone calculator, it comes up with error. I think if you have an Android, it does tell you undefined or it tells you error. If you ask Siri, what's negative 3 divided by 0?
If something is divided by nothing, then there's nothing to divide it with, and the division never happened. So my answer is no.
No. Alright, so undefined, what does my line look like? Perfect. Can't divide by 0, undefined. What kind of line is that? No. Horizontal is 0, fun. Vertical is the one where he fell off the cliff. Undefined. Alright, but here's the thing. We're going to make a note down here. This is really important. Yep. If I have negative 3 over 0, okay, and I see that 0 is in the denominator, I'm going to use a different color here. I'm going to use yellow.
How important is the 1 to 10 true or false you're saying?
We're going to keep going with this for a second. Negative 3 over 0, that's going to be undefined. We can't divide by 0. But if we have it flipped around, if I have like 0 divided by 8, can I do 0 divided by 8? If I have 0 candy and I divide it amongst all of you, how much candy do you receive? 0. So if 0 is in the numerator, we can do that. If 0 is in the denominator, we cannot. Okay, and that's kind of the big difference there on those problems.